Hi guys, it's Life with Eva. Welcome back. And today we are reading Chapter 3 of Lost and Found by Colleen Coble and Robin Carroll. So, I guess you guys are eager to hear the next chapter, so let's get started. Lost and Found, Chapter 3. Lights on top of the fire truck and police cars cast creepy shadows over the school. Smoke hung like clouds in the late afternoon air. Fire hoses spread out over the school grounds like a weird spiderweb. Emily dodged two firemen jogging across the parking lot as she dialed Olivia's number. The stench burned her nose. Olivia barely had time to answer before Emily interrupted. "Where are you?" "Are you here?" "Yes, I just got here." "I can't find you, though. There are so many people." "Come to the gym. The teachers and Mayor Kaleva have set up a kind of headquarters here. Mom and Dad are handing out bottles of water. Your dad is helping replace the firemen's tools as needed, and Naomi is helping keep the little kids occupied. I'll let Naomi know that you got here okay." "On my way to you." Emily slipped her cell phone back into her pocket and headed for Olivia. She sidestepped two sheriff deputies who nearly ran over her. Everyone had turned out to help in this town emergency, no matter what his or her job. Emily O'Reilly. She turned to find Inetta Harris rushing toward her. Inetta was a pretty woman with long auburn hair, probably in her 40s or so. She'd proven herself to be Emily and Olivia's friend, even if she had been friends with Marika in high school. "Isn't this awful?" Inetta asked as she stood beside Emily. "What happened?" Emily knew Inetta would have already asked the fire chief and Sheriff Kaleva for details. She was, after all, Rock Harbor's only reporter. According to Chief Dix, the fire started in the high school science lab. Emily walked slowly toward the gym. Were kids messing around and mixing stuff? She'd sure hate to be them right now. According to Principal Sturgeon, no one was supposed to be in the school. Football practice was on the field, and band practice was in the stands. So what happened? Sheriff Kaleva is still talking with the fire department, but right now their best estimation is someone broke into the lab and started a fire. Emily stopped and twisted to stare at Inetta. "On purpose?" "Too early to say." Inetta grabbed Emily's arm just in time to pull her out of the way as a hose was rolled out across their path. "Are your folks here? You shouldn't be out alone. It's dangerous. Olivia said everyone's by the gym. So that's why the cops were here too." Nodding, Inetta led the way. The mayor's had the radio station ask people to stay home, but if they were missing children or family members to come to the gym. "Hey, I need to ask a favor later." "What?" Emily shook her head. "Nothing urgent. This is more important at the moment." She waved her hand across the area. It was crazy. In just the short time Emily had been there, the crowd had grown. People were everywhere, crying, calling out names, and being told to go to the gym. It was so loud. Emily wanted to cover her ears to block it all out. They passed through an area still congested with heavy black smoke. Not only did Emily's nose burn, but her eyes started to water. She blinked, letting Inetta guide her. She turned her head away from the school and smoke. People stood behind the fire trucks and stared. Some had their hands over their mouths. Others just wore shocked expressions. A man with smudges on his face hugged a woman. A lady held a crying toddler. A woman. And there she was, Marika. Emily froze and widened her eyes as her birth mother made eye contact and smiled. Just for a split second, then Marika was gone. Emily blinked and shook her head, but she couldn't see her anymore, not behind the line of people. "What's wrong?" Inetta tugged on her arm. "Did you see her?" Inetta followed Emily's line of vision and peered into the crowd. See who? Marika. But she didn't see her anymore. Annetta's gaze shot across the people standing by the emergency vehicles. Marika, you see her? Where? She's gone now. Annetta turned to Emily to face her. Are you sure it was her? Chewing her bottom lip, Emily glanced back to the crowd. Her eyes were burning. She'd been blinking, so her vision was a little blurry. Emily, are you sure you saw your mother? She didn't see any sign of her. Maybe she'd been mistaken? I don't know. I thought I did. I mean, she looked right at me. And I saw her earlier today. She talked to me then. But then she disappeared. Wouldn't Marika have come up to her? That's what she'd threatened to do. To come take Emily and Timmy. Annetta put an arm around her shoulders and steered her toward the gym. There are a lot of people here. It's smoky and crowded. Lots of things happening all at once. Easy enough to have your eyes play tricks on you. Yeah, I guess so. Emily glanced over her shoulder. Still no sign of Marika. She could have gotten there, though. It had taken forever for Emily to deliver all the search dogs to their homes. She shivered. It happens to us all, understandably so right now. Annetta stopped outside the gym door. Here we are. You go on ahead and find your folks. I have to hunt down Chief Dix and see what I can find out. Thanks, Annetta. Emily took a step, then turned back to Annetta. Let me know what you find out, okay? Annetta arched a single eyebrow. Why? Just curious, I guess. Emily shrugged. Annetta chuckled. With your sense of curiosity, I just might turn you into a reporter yet. Emily smiled as she entered the gym. Maybe her curiosity and sense of wanting to solve a mystery were why she wanted herself and Sherlock to be the best SAR team after Bree and Samson. There you are. Olivia met her just inside the doorway. I was getting worried about you. What took you so long? They walked in the gym right in front of Josh Thorenson, Trevor Bray, and Casey Nelson, all high school members of the school's surf team. Emily still thought Josh was way cute with his thick black hair, blue eyes, and lean build, but he acted like she didn't exist. That was okay. She was only 14, and right now everything in her life seemed to be upside down. And now this fire. It's crowded out there, and I ran into Annetta. Emily explained. Did you know that they think someone broke into the science lab and that's where the fire started? She fell into step beside Olivia. I heard one of the teachers say they thought it was set on purpose, Casey interrupted. She'd been walking close enough to hear Emily and Olivia. She tossed her hair over her shoulder. Who would try to burn down our school? Trevor held Casey's hand. Good thing no one was here. The gym was crowded with people, maybe even more than outside. In one corner, tables were set up with coffee urns and ice chests full of water. Across the gym, there were tables with 2 big dry erase boards. Emily recognized several teachers writing and erasing names. Olivia turned to Emily. Did Annetta say who? Emily shook her head. But she's been talking with Sheriff Kaleva, and she promised to let me know when she knew something. Casey shook her head. This is just crazy. Josh glanced at the cell phone he held. Hey, Coach Larson is looking for us. We're supposed to meet him by the drink machine. Emily, let me know if you hear anything else, okay? If someone did try to burn down our school, what's to stop them from trying again? Casey shivered. I'll protect you, Trevor said as he flexed his muscles. Josh laughed and mock-punched Trevor in the gut. Come on, before Coach blows a gasket. With a weak smile, Casey left with Josh and Trevor. Wow. Olivia pulled her towards the bleachers. They found a small space on the front row and crammed together. I just can't believe all this. It has to be an accident. Emily pulled out her cell phone. She quickly typed out a text to her dad and Naomi to let them know she was safe in the gym, then returned the phone to her pocket. No one was supposed to be in the science lab. Just someone being there is bad. May I have your attention, please, everyone? Mayor Hillary Kaleva spoke into a bullhorn. The entire gym grew quiet, except for a little kid or two crying. Thank you. I wanted to give everyone an update. If you've just joined us, please check the name board over in the corner. A few teens still haven't checked in, and their parents are very worried. 3 of the varsity football players lingering around the doorway shuffled toward the corner. The bullhorn screeched. Rock Harbor's fire department has concluded with putting out the fire, but will stay to ensure it doesn't rekindle. Applause burst out throughout the gym. Mayor Kaleva nodded, then continued. Yes, we're certainly thankful for their heroic work. However, since the cause of the fire is under investigation, Fire Chief Jack Dix has requested to speak with everyone prior to your leaving. He and his team are stationed by the doors and will need to get some information from each of you before you leave. Thank you for your cooperation. The mayor's last words were drowned out with people talking and lots of people heading to the doors. There were way too many trying to move to the same place at the same time, crowding and pushing. Emily felt as if the air had been sucked from the gym. Come on. Emily grabbed Olivia's hand and headed up the bleachers. Let's look for our parents. She'd barely reached the top row when she saw her father pointing up at her. Naomi, holding Matthew, Emily's baby brother, tightly in hand, standing beside him. Emily and Olivia made their way back down the bleachers. Dad pulled Emily into a big bear hug. Hi, honey. I'm so glad you and Timmy were at Breeze when the fire broke out. I would have been worried sick. Even though she'd just turned 14, she loved having Dad hold her. It made her feel so safe. Do they know what's happened yet? We don't know. Naomi put Matthew's hand in Dad's, then gave Emily a hug as well. Mason said the chief has called in the arson of investigator. Arson? Emily locked gazes with Olivia. That's not certain yet, Em. They're just looking into it. Dad hoisted Matthew to his shoulder. Olivia, are you ready to go home? Miss Webster joined the group. Your father went to get the car. She smiled weakly at Naomi. This is just awful. I'm so glad none of the children were here. Naomi nodded. I know. I can't even imagine how long it'll take to rebuild that part of the school. Will we still have school? Emily caught her tongue between her teeth. If school was closed, even for a couple of days, the History Smackdown team wouldn't be ready for their first meet. They were on a winning streak. Yes, you'll still have school. Mrs. Webster grinned, but I'm sure that there will be some rearranging of some classes. The news should have more information tonight. Come on, Olivia. She gave a nod to the O'Reilly family. Call me later, Olivia mouthed at Emily as she followed her mother toward the gym door. In minutes, the crowd of people swallowed them up and hid them from Emily's sight. Speaking of getting home, we need to get this one home for dinner. Dad tickled Matthew, causing him to giggle, then set him on the ground, but he kept a firm hold on his hand. Matthew was famous for breaking free from parental containment. I'm hungry, Matthew wailed on cue. Naomi chuckled and put her arm around Emily's shoulders. Your dad and I are in separate cars. What do you say we let them head home and start dinner, and you and I run by Breeze and pick up Timmy? What? Dad wore wide eyes. I have to start dinner? All by myself? I'll help you, Daddy. Matthew jumped up and down in place. Everyone laughed. Then Matthew and I will get things started. He leaned over and gave both Emily and Naomi a kiss on the cheek. But don't be too long, or you might not recognize the kitchen when you get back. We'll be quick. Naomi took hold of Emily's hand. We're parked closer to the door. They went to the door opposite of the one Dad and Matthew had gone toward. Sheriff Kaleva stood beside Chief Dix. He gave Naomi a stiff smile. She reached out and squeezed his forearm. Mason, this is so awful. Can I do anything more to help? He shook his head. Hillary's already working on getting a rebuilding fundraiser organized. I'm sure she'll be calling you about that soon. It's so awful. He lifted his notepad and scribbled their names. Were either of you here when the fire broke out? No, I just dropped off some donations to the animal shelter when I saw the smoke. I came right over. The fire truck was already here by the time I'd parked. He finished writing, then looked at Emily. What about you? She shook her head. I was at the SAR school working with Sherlock. He smiled. Bree tells us that puppy of yours has great potential. Really? It was one thing for Bree to tell Emily Sherlock had promise. It was something else for her to tell the sheriff and mayor, even if they were Bree's family. Sure, she said with continued training, he could one day surpass Charlie. Hey now, Naomi rose to her dog's defense, but she smiled. Sherlock does have great potential. She hugged Emily, and Emily's turning out to be a great handler. Heat shot to Emily's cheeks as the sheriff moved them through the door so he could speak to the man behind them. Emily's feet barely touched the ground as she walked with Naomi to the SUV. Bree and Naomi both thought she was good. She couldn't wait to tell Olivia. Naomi O'Reilly! A woman's voice yelled over the parking lot. Both Emily and Naomi turned to find a woman in one of the tight uniforms from Copper Club marching all over the asphalt. We don't need your charity or any of your religious mumbo-jumbo. Even in the dark, Emily could see Naomi's face turning red. Naomi shifted, stepping in front of Emily. Odetta, isn't it? What's it to you, Miss High and Mighty? The breads and cookies weren't charity. They were just some things for you and the other waitresses to enjoy. And there was no judgment, religious or otherwise. Well, we didn't need the cards with scripture on them, and we don't need your food. You aren't any better than any of us. We're doing honest work to earn an honest living. Just because you holy rollers think the club is a den of sin doesn't mean that we're all bad. No one ever said that, Odetta. The waitress glared at her. Just stay away from us. We don't want or need anything from you. She turned and marched off. What was that all about? Emily asked. Just someone who misread a nice gesture. It's nothing. Naomi shook her head. Come on, your dad's probably already made a huge mess in the kitchen. Emily smiled and buckled her seatbelt, but her mind couldn't forget Odetta's face. It'd been pinched and looked like she was ready to throw a punch. It kind of scared Emily. That's the end of Chapter 3 of Lost and Found. Come back next time to hear Chapter 4. Bye!